Picture the ideal family: 2 decades of shared love, 3 wonderful kids, and a marriage rooted in mutual trust. But what happens when that trust is broken in the most devastating way imaginable? Joel Luciano believed he was living his dream life. He had just marked 20 years of marriage with his wife, Lisa, and celebrated the occasion surrounded by their children. But behind their picture-perfect life, a hidden fracture had begun to deepen. Lisa, once the heart of their home and a devoted mother, began to change. After undergoing a physical transformation, losing weight and building confidence, her demeanor shifted. What began as innocent workplace banter spiraled into something far more dangerous. She was having an affair, a secret that would rip their family apart. Then, in one single terrible day, Joel's world imploded. Their son was rushed to the hospital, and Lisa was nowhere to be found. What Joel uncovered in the hours and days that followed would torment him forever. It was a story of betrayal, shame, and the uphill climb toward forgiveness. Can a family ever recover when the person you trusted most becomes the one who breaks you? Is there redemption after such heartache? Before we dive into the full story, if you don't want your own life to unravel the way mine did, make sure to subscribe to my channel, hit the bell icon so you never miss another real-life lesson, and like this video if my story moves you. I encourage you to drop your thoughts in the comments, especially if you've ever experienced anything similar. Now, let's get into what really happened. Just a few months ago, I thought I was living one of the happiest chapters of my life. We were celebrating our 20th wedding anniversary, surrounded by our children, Jasmine, Casey, and Jake. It was one of those moments that feels frozen in time, joy, laughter, and pride all rolled into one. My name is Joel Luciano. I'm 42 years old, and back then, I truly believed I had everything I ever dreamed of: a loyal partner, a loving home, a beautiful family. But I couldn't see that everything I held close was quietly slipping through my hands. Lisa and I had been together since she was 20. I was her first love, the only man she'd ever been with. I'd had a few relationships before her, but from the moment we met, she captivated me. With her golden hair, vivid blue eyes, and petite build, she had a way of lighting up any room she entered. Our marriage had been fulfilling. We raised our kids together, shared responsibilities, and built a life filled with laughter and memories. We even faced serious trials, like when Lisa had a cancer scare years ago. I thought, if we could survive that, we could weather anything. But I was wrong. It began subtly, when new neighbors moved in next door: Roger and his wife, Maria. Maria was a fitness buff, always running or working out. As time passed, she started inviting Lisa to join her at the gym. At first, I thought nothing of it. It seemed like a good outlet, healthy and social. Lisa started losing weight. She looked great, but more than that, something else changed. She didn't just drop pounds, she shed parts of who she used to be. Her confidence soared, and with it came a new wardrobe, flashier, tighter clothes, and a boldness in how she carried herself. I tried to be supportive, telling myself that her appearance didn't matter to me, that I loved her soul, not her body. But beneath the surface, I felt like I was watching my wife turn into a stranger. She seemed to bask in the attention, glowing, radiant, and almost addicted to the validation. Our quiet, predictable routine gave way to late gym sessions, new social circles, and a version of Lisa I didn't recognize. Then came her 40th birthday. I planned a celebration to honor her growth, her confidence, and everything she'd become. She looked stunning that night, absolutely breathtaking. But as I watched her laugh and flirt with the younger guys from her office, something inside me twisted. For the first time in 20 years, I felt something I'd never felt in our relationship: jealousy. That night, I saw a side of Lisa I had never seen before. She was playful, flirtatious, even provocative. And none of that attention was directed toward me. It was like I was watching my wife perform for an audience that didn't include me. Later that evening, I confronted her about what I'd seen. She told me she was sorry. Blamed the flirting on a mix of excitement and a bit too much to drink. She swore it wouldn't happen again. But let's be honest, promises are easy to make when they cost nothing. Despite her apology, the late nights kept happening. And with them, the emotional distance grew wider. The closeness we once shared, the spontaneous touches, the long talks, the intimacy, it all slowly faded. Our connection had become a shadow of what it once was, and I felt like a guest in my own home. Lisa's focus seemed to be everywhere except with her family. But I, holding on to the version of her I had loved for 2 decades, refused to believe what my heart was trying to tell me. I ignored the obvious signs, pretending everything was fine. Then came the day that shattered everything. It was a Thursday. Jake had his after-school club, and Lisa was supposed to pick him up. But she didn't show. Time passed. Minutes turned into hours. Jake, tired of waiting and worried, decided to walk home by himself, crossing traffic-heavy roads along the way. When I found out, panic took over. My heart raced with fear and fury. Then came the news that broke me. Jake had been hit by a car. I dropped everything and rushed to the hospital, dialing Lisa again and again. She didn't answer. I was frantic, my mind spinning as I sat helpless in the emergency room. My son was being wheeled into surgery, and still, no word from his mother. Fear gripped me, but there was something else gnawing at me too, something darker. A question I didn't want to ask. Where the hell was she? Still, I shoved that thought aside. My focus needed to be on Jake. But when the hours stretched on and Lisa still hadn't shown up or answered her phone, I could no longer ignore the pit forming in my gut. I called her office. What I heard next nearly stopped my heart. The receptionist told me Lisa had left for lunch earlier, with Donnie, a sales rep she had recently been spending an unusual amount of time with. My stomach sank. I didn't want to believe it, but I couldn't shake the feeling. I got Donnie's number and dialed, praying there was some kind of misunderstanding. He answered, and the moment I heard the tone of his voice, calm, almost smug, I knew. My worst fears had been confirmed. My wife wasn't working. She wasn't stuck in traffic. She wasn't sick or in trouble. She was in a hotel room, with him, while our son was on an operating table. While I sat alone, drowning in fear. The fury that surged through me in that moment was unlike anything I had ever felt. Through clenched teeth, I demanded to speak with her. When Lisa finally came on the line, her voice was trembling, laced with guilt and panic. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I simply said, "Jake's in surgery. When you're done with your boyfriend, get to the hospital." Then I ended the call. My hands were shaking. Everyone around me, my daughters, Lisa's parents, looked at me with stunned expressions. Confusion, horror, disbelief. I had never felt so humiliated, so betrayed. For the first time in my life, I broke. The tears came, and I didn't try to stop them. Everything I believed in, our love, our life, our family, was crumbling around me. Lisa eventually arrived at the hospital. Her clothes were wrinkled, her face red with shame. Her mother, seeing the truth written all over her, slapped her hard across the cheek. The sound of it echoed, but it was nothing compared to the emotional damage she had caused. Our daughter, Jasmine, was inconsolable. Through sobs, she shouted that she hated her mother, that she wished she'd never come back. Lisa collapsed into a chair, her once radiant confidence gone. I just stood there, hollowed out, trying to make sense of what was happening. The days that followed were filled with silence. Jake, thankfully, pulled through and recovered. But I wasn't sure if we, as a family, ever truly would. Lisa began to beg for forgiveness. But the wound she left in me was too deep for words to heal. We tried to maintain a front for the sake of the kids. Smiling when we had to. Avoiding each other when we could. She moved into the guest room. We still shared the same roof, but that was all. Emotionally, we were miles apart. Just two broken people, staying connected for the children we both loved. Lisa didn't give up. She started therapy, quit her job, cut off Donnie completely. She even agreed to take a polygraph, desperate to prove the affair had been a moment of weakness, not a second life she had built behind my back. But could I ever forgive her? Could I look into her eyes and not see that day again? After months of silence, we finally sat down one night to talk. Lisa poured her heart out. She apologized again and again, said she hated herself for what she had done. I told her the truth, that I still loved her, but I wasn't sure love alone could carry the weight of what had happened. We decided to stay married, for the kids, for stability. But the marriage we once had, it was gone. The trust that had taken 20 years to build had collapsed in an instant. Still, Lisa kept trying. She worked every day to make things right. Slowly, painfully, we found a way to function again. The wound would never fully close, but it began to scar over. Forgiveness, I learned, is not a single moment. It's a series of choices, repeated, every day. And as for Donnie, life came for him too. His reputation fell apart, his career tanked, and the chaos he sowed finally caught up with him. In the end, he paid dearly for what he'd done. But that's a story for another time. As I sit here now, looking back, I know one thing. Life is never black and white. It's messy, complicated, full of betrayal, heartbreak, and, sometimes, healing. Learning to let go may be the hardest part of all. What do you think of this story? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you don't want to miss more powerful real-life stories like this one, make sure to subscribe and turn on the bell for updates.